So there are two power chord shapes that get used in this song, and we're going to learn them all separately, and then we're going to learn where they fall in the song, and then all the other bits in between. So the first power chord shape that gets used in this song is an open position power chord. Now you can play power chords with either 2 notes or 3 notes. If you want to do the 2-note version, please feel welcome. If you're comfortable with that, I'll be using the 3-note version. Your first finger comes to the A string at fret 2 and also onto the D string at fret 2 as well. And you're also going to pluck the low E at the same time. And you've just got these 3 notes. That's your low E open position power chord. And then the rest of the strings will be muted by the underside of this first finger here. If you see that first finger, it's not up in the air like that, it's down like that, so that the other strings are muted, not fretted, okay? We don't want this, we want this. All right, so that's shape number 1. And then shape number 2 is going to be a closed position power chord. And I'll show you a G power chord for this. So to play a G closed position power chord, first finger comes to fret 3 of the low E, third finger comes to fret 5 of the A, and then the pinky comes to fret 5 of the D. And again, that first finger wants to be leaning on any other strings that aren't being played. It needs to be muting them, okay? So again, here's my power chord in the correct position, but if my finger lifts up like this and then I try to strum, I'm getting all this additional open string stuff that I don't want. I need them to close off and mute those open strings. And then my pick can kind of do what it wants and hasn't got to worry too much about being massively accurate on the strumming. It can just be free and loose and all those good things that we want from strumming. Now, there is another version of this shape. You can move this down to the A string. Okay, let's move it down to the A string. So we're now playing a C power chord, right? Now, we need to make sure that in addition to keeping the notes muted, the tip of the first finger is muting the low E string. Okay, now we're talking millimeters here. Just pay careful attention to my first finger. If my first finger's here in the right position and I strum, great. If I move my first finger just a millimeter towards the floor and it's not touching the low E anymore, I've got myself a C power chord with a low E bass note, which is not what we want. It's not going to work for us in the context of poly, okay? And just generally speaking, you do want to be using that first finger to mute the low E when you do power chords on the A string. Some people might be using their thumb to come up like this. And again, that's okay. If that's where you kind of are with your guitar playing, then that's all right. But I'd really encourage you not to do that because you want to open the hand position up and you get a nice open hand position, a nice healthy drop in the wrist, and everything just opens up and it's just much better for playing. It is a bit more strenuous on the wrist at first than doing that, but it will give you more options in the future. So they are our 3 predominant, I don't know what I mean there, our 3 chord shapes that are used predominantly throughout the song. I think that's what I meant. In fact, or exclusively throughout the song. So the first 3 motions in this song sound like this. So, okay. So you've got chord, muted note, open string, up strum. Chord, muted notes, open stringed, up strum. To do the chord, it's that low E power chord that we just talked about with the first finger on the second of the A and the D, making sure you're muting, and then you just strum that chord with your strumming hand, down strum. Now to get the muted note, you've got to rest your fretting hand fingers on top of the strings, but don't push them down. Watch my fretting hand, not the picking hand. Did you see that? Those fingers going up and down, right? And that gives us the muted notes. Maybe you've heard that kind of sound before, and that's kind of how you get it on the guitar, right? Then the third movement is the open strings, and we do that on an up strum. And we're really, in the notation for this, I did put specific strings that you have to use, but as long as you're getting the D, A or the low E, then you're getting the essence of the song and it's working, okay? Don't stress too much about being accurate on these open strings. So, ooh. Open strings, open strings, 1 and 2 and, okay? 1 and 2 and. The next movements go like this. So very similar, but we're not doing the low E power chord anymore. We're now doing that G power chord at the 3rd fret, that closed position power chord. And remember, think about the muting. And we do a down up strum on the chord. Then we lift our fingers off gently, but we're still keeping them on top of the strings so we can achieve the mutedness, okay? We don't want to do this. That's too much work for our hand, okay? Like trying to flip between these two. No, just leave the chord shape there and try and achieve the muting while holding on to the chord shape. You know, for instance, Faith by George Michael. You know, you wouldn't want to repeatedly be going. If you see what I mean, going between those, you want to keep it the same, all right? So you've got the down strum on the muted note, and then you do the up strum for the open strings. Then we take our power chord shape to the A string at the 5th fret, and it gives us a D power chord, and we do down up first of all. Well, let's learn the movements first. We've got so we do down up on the D power chord, then we mute the D power chord again by resting the fingers gently, but crucially that first finger also wants to be touching the low E. Because if you're not touching the low E, it's going to sound like this. We've got this horrible drony low E noise. Okay, so we do down, up, rest the fingers gently, mute. Then we move our power chord down 2 frets to a C power chord, and we do an up strum. Down, up, mute, up. Down, up, mute, up. And we go up, down, up. But then we move to a B power chord at the 2nd fret for the final upstroke. Sorry. Up, down, up. So you've got down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And that is all of your intros and your verses. Now we get to the chorus. So the first few motions of the chorus go like this. So we've got a down strum on that D power chord at the 5th of the A. Then we do the muted note. Then we move it down to the C power chord and we do an up strum. And then we go up, down, and then open strings. So down, down, up, down, open strings. Down, 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 up, down, open strings. And then we do that same pattern, but we go between a G power chord at the 3rd of the low E and a B flat power chord at the 6th of low E. And we start the whole sequence again. So from the G power chord, down, mute, up to the B flat power chord, up, down, open strings. So I'll play the whole chorus very, very slowly. And that is how you play the chorus. So then all you've got to do after that point is put the two sections together. So you want to be able to loop each bit twice and then glue them together, because you want to know that you can do the first part on loop and then the second part on loop, but also both parts together. So it would sound like this when you're practicing. And so on and so forth, okay? So thanks for stopping by this video. If you did enjoy that lesson, check out the video that's on your screen now and go ahead, learn more if you found that too easy. See you again soon.